Cav Cop here. In this video, I want to go over hammer bite and slide bite with a pistol. Something you may not be aware of, but something that you should keep an eye out on. Do me a favor, check the description box below for some of the people that we follow here on Rumble that we're trying to build a community together with. Let's go inside and go over more of this hammer bite and slide bite. Alright, so as we talk about hammer bite and slide bite, a notorious firearm for that is the Walther PPK, the James Bond pistol that became semi-famous in the 70s and 80s and 90s. A lot of people were into them. They're a heavy firearm, have a heavy trigger pull, but they're known for slide bite. This weapon is cleared, no rounds in the chamber. There is no slide lock on it other than the internal magazine, so it allows it to come back. But as you can see, when you come back, it tends to come pretty close to where your palm swell is, and the sharp part of the slide can end up leaving what they call like train tracks and mark your hand if your grip's too high on it, as well as the hammer coming all the way back on it. If we take the magazine out, we can let the slide go forward, and you can see that the hammer comes back quite a ways, and when you're firing, the hammer will end up coming back a little bit further, so it'll actually come down a little further than where you see it resting right here. One of the ways people ended up modifying this to make it better is by adding a extended beaver tail to it. Smith & Wesson ended up taking over making the Walther PPKs. This one right here is made by Inner Arms, one of the older ones that came out back in the day. But Smith & Wesson made a newer version of it. And the Smith & Wesson one, I guess we'll show you that it's clear and everything. Let me let the slide go back forward to show you this. So, what they ended up doing is adding a little more of a beaver tail to it, or a little bit more of a covering for your grip. So when you grip it, it's not coming back as far and not putting your palm in the area that the slide's operating in. So your hand's a little bit lower and the metal comes a little bit further back, and that happens to alleviate your chance of slide bite with it. If you look at the two side by side, hopefully you can see that there's a little less metal here that protrudes, and on this one here there's a bit more that comes back here to protect the palm of your hand or the web of your hand. Like I said, this one right here is a Walther by Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson was the importer on this one, and it's rather improved. I think these ones came out in I don't know what time it was, but I know I bought mine in late 2000 or the 2000, probably like 2015 or somewhere around there. But these right here are a newer version of it. So if you're looking to buy a Walther because you think they're neat, they're kind of heavy and decent thing. In law enforcement, we carried them a lot because they were reliable and sturdy firearms that were smaller and easier to conceal on someone's person. And so there is some validity to carrying them, but if you are looking for one, if you have small hands and you're okay with the regular setup, it's fine. But the Smith & Wesson version, or the newer version of the Walther PPKs, does have a little bit of that extended beaver tail area here to help prevent that slide bite. So something to look for if you're in the market for a Walther PPK. Let's take a look at some other ones. Another pistol known for hammer or slide bite is the 1935 Browning High Power. We'll go ahead and make sure it's clear, nothing in there. When we grip it, you can see that the spur of the hammer comes back quite a ways and can end up hitting your web of your hand right there. And again, there is a little bit more play to it, so it's not all the way back. When you shoot it, you can pinch your hand. Some people have actually pinched their hand so bad you could let go of the gun and it was still holding on to the web of their hand. So the Browning High Power is another one of those. If you're going to look at it, it's going to have some close slide bite for some people. A lot of people don't like shooting them. There are remedies and things that can be done about them. One of the improvements they made on the newer versions of them were, like I talked about in one of my other videos, to add a rounded hammer to them. Again, it's clear. With the rounded hammer, it comes back down, not quite as close. The spur kind of hangs down a little bit more, so that's a way that they were able to deal with it. What some people ended up doing was having extra material added on here, and some people would kind of chop and bob the hammers a little bit. And people can pay quite a bit of money to have that extra piece welded on, and it helps with the pistol being a little bit more user friendly to have the extra metal coming back there. A gunsmith can weld it on. Some companies now are starting to actually incorporate them being a little bit longer, kind of like Smith & Wesson did with the Walther PPKS, and they're building them with a little bit extended things. So the Browning High Power is also known for having some slide bites. Let's look at another pistol that's known for it. And once again, we end up with another Browning pistol, the Colt M1911. That was made for the United States military and saw over 100 years of service, so to speak. Tends to have that same issue. Clear it, make sure nothing's in there. And the hammer and stuff come back. This is a reproduction one, but a lot of people had issues with the hammer coming back or getting too high up on the grip of it and everything. The slide sits kind of high, so it's not bad as far as the slide bite, but the hammer bite was an issue. People have bobbed the hammers, people have added beaver tails and done different things to make them work a little bit better. We'll go and take a look at some of that. On the newer versions or improved versions, some people still like the old spur style and everything, but they did, like with the high power, go to a bobbed hammer. They also added an extended and curved beaver tail, so when you get a grip on it, it kind of protects your palm area, and the hammer comes back down into the beaver tail area, preventing any kind of slide bite or anything like that. Also, to help get a higher grip, on some 1911s, they relief underneath the trigger area here. I don't know if you can see, there's like a little spot where it'll be kind of like relieved. You can see where it dips down in that little area there. And that helps you get a little bit higher grip on it, and a lot of people like that grip better versus the traditional ones where it just came smooth and down. So some people couldn't get as good of a grip. It kind of hits their hand right here. A lot of people even that shoot Glocks will tend to do a little bit of relief to make it easier to get a higher grip on their firearms and everything. But with the 1911s, they ended up adding the beaver tail and grip safety, and it helps out a lot with that slide lock type issue. Some people have gone to the extremes, and some people will completely remove the beaver tail area to where there's nothing at all there. Detonics used to make these real small compact 1911s. I'll try and find a picture and throw it up here, but Detonics kind of went away with it completely, and then other people ended up adding a grip that kind of comes back and protects. But there are purists that do still like the regular hammer spur style on it. I tend to like the bobbed or the commander style hammer and everything. The original spur hammer was big, but the commander style was a lot better, and that's what a lot of people end up going with. We'll discuss a few others. I think it was IMI made a Micro Eagle. I looked at them one time in the store, and they're nice and small and compact for a 380. But when I put them in my hand and messed with it, to me it just seemed like there'd be a slide bite with it. I ended up going with the North American Arms Guardian. This one right here is made by Carr, and it's a small compact pistol. There's no slide lock, basically just a magazine release, and that's all you get to it. But it doesn't even have an internal slide lock as far as I know, but it holds rounds. It's small. If you grip it up too high, it gets in the way where the hammer is, and the slide can come back on you, so it's important to try to grip it low. If you grip it down low, then it's not bad, but it is a nice, small, tiny firearm, smaller than the Walther PPK, something that you could hide on an ankle, your waist, if you're wearing body armor or a vest, or something you want to carry in a lunch bag or something like that, or a purse. These small, tiny guns are neat, but on the same token, if you plan on going to the range and firing them a bit, you can get some hammer bite. A lot of people end up liking the firearms that have hammer bite. They don't want to modify them. They don't want to change them. So an easy way to deal with that is just taking something like a Band-Aid and putting it over where the web of your hand is, and it'll help protect it. So you can get a Band-Aid or something and do that, or you can even get some tape or something like that, like duct tape, tear a piece off, put it over the web of your hand, and then you can go ahead and shoot them at the range and everything. Something easy to do. It's going to provide some protection and safety for you, and and it allows you to enjoy firearms that you may like or want to carry for emergencies. If you're having a range gun or something like that, then you definitely probably want to do something else because you're going to be shooting a lot of rounds with it. But for certain firearms, it's one of the risks that you take. Being able to have something so small and compact that's easy to hide, easy to conceal, and is a 380 or larger is something that I think is a decent thing to have. You just have to know the limitations of your firearms. If you're aware of any firearms that have a hammer bite and slide lock that I didn't mention at all, go ahead and post them in the comments below. I'm kind of interested to know. These are just the ones that I own that came to my mind offhand. And I know the Tonics was one of them way back in the day that I thought about, but because of the magazines and stuff like that, I passed on it. But there's a lot of good firearms out there. Some of them can kind of hurt you a bit. Most modern firearms, they've kind of worked around all that to alleviate any of the problems or anything. Hope you enjoyed this. Cav Cop out.